Ronald Araujo. What a name. What a name. A guy that was a Barcelona captain. A guy that was phenomenal in Xavi's title-winning campaign 2022-2023. Ronald Araujo. The whole world knows about him, and for good reason. For me, I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of Ronald Araujo, but I'll be so honest with you guys. I understand why Barcelona might be looking at him and feeling it's time to part ways. It's time to let you go. Because when it comes to Ronald Araujo, there's strengths and there's weaknesses to his game. But the one thing you can never ever deny about Ronald Araujo is physically, for me, he is one of the most gifted centre-halves in the world. And that will never ever change. In the modern game, he is one of the best modern day centre-halves. Why? Because of his physicality. His physicality alone can defend an entire counter-attack. And I've seen him do that in a Barcelona shirt. In a Juve team. Having a centre-half of his physicality allows you to push the defensive line higher up. Why? Because now you've got physical centre-halves where if a ball was to be clipped over the top, you've got centre-halves that can get back in time and put out the fire. You've got centre-halves that can push forward, that can carry the ball. With Ronald Araujo, physically, he will benefit Juventus a lot. He will benefit Thiago Motta's philosophy, his blueprint of football a lot. Will he solve Juve's injury crisis at the back this season? That is where the question marks come in. And that's where I look at Ronald Araujo and I look at Barcelona and I tell myself, maybe, just maybe. Just a few years ago, Ronald Araujo, when he put pen to paper in 2022, Laporte told him, your buyout clause is £1 billion. That's how highly he was rated. Phenomenal in the title-winning campaign. At that period, he was labelled as one of the best centre-halves in La Liga. One of the best centre-halves in the world. And with time, I remember even me coming out and saying, I was like, with time, this dude has the potential to one day be the best centre-half in the world. Because he ticks a lot of the boxes of the modern day centre-half. But what's happened? What's happened is injuries, setbacks. He's shown he can't recover from them in time. When he does recover, he doesn't look like the same player. And as a manager, you want players that are reliable. You want players that you can start week in, week out, that you can build your team around. You can build your defensive structure around. Ronald Araujo, you guys can see it for yourself. The injuries are worrying. Like Ronald Araujo, even on his good days, even on his good seasons, he averages 55% of games. He plays 50% of games for Barcelona on his good campaigns. That's not good enough. So let's just say hypothetically, if he wants to come to Juventus, you're signing a centre-half of his physical stature, of his ability, but all you're getting is 19, 20 games out of 38. That is not good enough. Because Ronald Araujo will come with a lot of demands, with a lot of expectations. He will probably want crazy wages. And at the moment, it's looking like a 5 million loan and just under £40 million to secure his services. It's a gamble for me. The reason why I say it's a gamble is because I look at Juve and I look at their best centre-halves. I see Bremer, ACL, MCL. Those injuries, players don't recover from them the quickest. And some never ever recover from them and they're never ever the same player. I hope Bremer comes back better than what he's shown. But Bremer, I understand it might take him 12, 18 months to find his feet again. I look at Virgil van Dijk, Liverpool. When he came back, he wasn't the same for the first 12 months. But Bremer, he'll always be a fragile centre-half after that injury. I look at Kalulu. Kalulu had the injuries at Milan. And even when he put pen to paper with Juventus, Milan supporters were looking at him and thinking, good riddance. You're constantly injured. You're never ever available. We can't rely upon you. This season, he's shown he can be relied upon. But for me, I still look at Kalulu as a fragile piece of Juventus' defensive structure. You add Ronald Araujo. For all that he brings physically and how good of a centre-half he is another one that falls into that injury-prone bracket. So now, that's 3 centre-halves that will be on a lot of money, that will come with demands, with expectations, that will want to start, that improve Juventus. When Bremer plays, Juventus are a better team. When Kalulu plays, Juventus are a better team. If Ronald Araujo was to sign, when he plays, Juventus will be a better team defensively. But all 3 of them fall into that injury bracket. They're injury prone. That is where I worry when it comes to Juventus, because I look at it and I'm like, Juventus this season are very short defensively, and I understand why they're going into the market, because they need reinforcements. If Gatti or Kalulu were to get injured, they're down to the bare bones. January transfer windows, for me, the best way to describe them is stopgap signings. Just a signing that can paper over the cracks for 6 months. And then in the summer, you go out and you sign who you truly want. That is where I look at Juve and I'm like, there are players out there that might be cheaper but more reliable than a Ronald Araujo. For example, I look at somebody like Skriniar from PSG. Everybody knows and has seen what Skriniar done in an Inter shirt in the Serie A. A Scudetto winner. It hasn't worked out for him at PSG, but just because it doesn't work out, it doesn't mean you're not a good enough centre-half. And he is one player that is looking to leave. He's constantly linked with teams in Turkey, Galatasaray, Besiktas. Juve, Skriniar, 29 years of age. It's a very good option. Stopgap signing for 6 months, as wild as this may sound. I look at somebody like Sergio Ramos. Fair enough, he's old in age, but he showed what he can bring to the table playing once a week at Sevilla last year. He hasn't played any football this year, so he's fresh. He's full of energy. He's ready. Somebody like him for 6 months just to get over the line and wait till the summer. And I feel like in the summer, that's when you'll see Juventus go in for somebody like David Hanko from Feyenoord. Then you've got other players that become free agents in the summer. Like players that I personally like, Virgil van Dijk from Liverpool. If he doesn't agree a new deal, Juventus should be knocking. Somebody like Fabian Schär from Newcastle, the Newcastle captain. Juventus should be looking at someone like him. Swiss international, I believe he's the Swiss captain as well. Jonathan Tah from Bayern Leverkusen. These are all players that Juventus can sign in the summer. So when I look at the Ronald Araujo rumours, it's expensive. It's a massive gamble. It doesn't really solve Juventus's injury crisis, because in order to solve your injury crisis, you need to sign a player that's reliable. He isn't the most reliable. And him not being reliable is probably one of the reasons why Barcelona are looking to let him go. The injury record, the fact that they've offered him a new contract, he hasn't agreed to it for whatever reason. He probably wants more wages. He probably wants more assurances over his starting position. Looking at it, he sees Martinez and Kobasi performing, and they look undroppable. He doesn't want to really sit on the bench, so he feels like it's best for him to part ways. Araujo, from a technical standpoint, I praise him physically. From a technical standpoint, he isn't really gifted in that department. Like, he isn't one of those line-breaking centre-halves. He isn't the most progressive in his ball carrying, in his passing, but it's okay. Defensive partnerships, a defensive foundation, it's all about balance. As long as you've got one centre-half that can progress the ball, it isn't a problem. I look at Ronald Araujo and I tell myself, Locatelli constantly drops deep to pick up the ball. Locatelli can be that first phase ball progressor. But what Ronald Araujo can bring to Juventus physically, off the ball, defensively, is it worth the gamble? I feel like a 3 million loan is definitely worth the gamble, but he would have to show he's the most reliable player in a Juve shirt for the next 6 months. If not, it's not worth paying £40 million on a player. He might have the potential, he might have the ability, the resume might speak for itself, but if he's only giving you 50% of games a season, it's not worth wasting money when there's more reliable players that are probably on par in terms of quality. Now, if you're new, make sure to subscribe, make sure to hit the like button, make sure to let me know what you think in the comments. I'll catch you guys on another one.